Well, they hired one of the writers of X-Men The Last Stand to write and direct this second incarnation of the Dark Phoenix saga. Hello everyone, I just saw Dark Phoenix, and while this film has flaws, I must say I personally enjoyed it. It took me by surprise, and I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as what some critics are saying. Yes, it's not one of the best X-Men movies, but honestly, what was going to be better than the Dark Phoenix saga from the comics? What was going to be like Logan, Days of Future Past, or X2? And I must say that I liked it better than X-Men Origins, and some parts of The Last Stand. Even though The Last Stand was more entertaining, I like what they did here. Overall, this takes place in 1992, and we have Simon Kinberg write and direct this film. A lot of the actors weren't going to return unless he was the writer slash director, and this is his directorial debut. And I must say, you can feel that it is his first film. That being said, on a technical level, as far as cinematography and editing, I think it's really well crafted. It's the performances, some of the writing and the story that is a bit jarring, jumbled, and just lackluster. The best way to describe this film is not bad, it's just a little lackluster. But I do think it has a lot of heart, has spectacle, and it does have action scenes. While he may not measure up to the feats of Bryan Singer or Matthew Vaughn's X-Men, I still think this is a solid film. Once you know that you're not going to have Phoenix Saga from the comics, I think you're going to look at it better. Of course, we don't have Sebastian Shaw, who was played by Kevin Bacon. There's a lot of story threads that aren't there, so it's pretty much a loose adaptation of Dark Phoenix. It starts with a space mission. This crew on the Endeavor are kind of like next to the solar flare in space, and they need to be rescued. So the X-Men go up and rescue them, and meanwhile, Jean Grey ends up coming into contact with this cosmic force. And I like that. The comics of the X-Men used to have space missions and stuff, and this is something very interesting. Sophie Turner, I think, does an amazing job in this film as Jean Grey slash Dark Phoenix. It's not like she goes bad out of nowhere. You know, you still have a little bit of that bipolar kind of disorder from The Last Stand, but there's more conflict. You can feel that she really doesn't want to hurt anybody. You can feel that she has trouble controlling her abilities. I like that. Professor Xavier is a bit more egotistical in this one. He's kind of a jerk in many ways. He's very different than the previous Xavier, but you also get to see that he's learned from his mistakes in some capacity. But then, like Beast said in Days of Future Past, you put a ripple, eventually the current's going to correct itself. So some things change and some things really don't change. As always, McAvoy and Fassbender are the best parts of this film. Michael Fassbender really doesn't come in until like halfway through the movie. And that's another thing I want to mention. This film is way too short. Hour and 46 minutes. It's longer than X-Men and X-Men The Last Stand. I just feel like if it was 2.5 hours and they fleshed out things more, it would have been really, really good. I like Hans Zimmer's score. I miss John Ottman's X-Men theme. I was really missing that theme here. Ty Sheridan as Cyclops. I love Nightcrawler in this. Storm. Jessica Chastain is an interesting character. She's probably the weakest part of this film, and that's not really because of her. The villains are very kind of like lackluster. They're just kind of an afterthought. You know, they're very underdeveloped. That's one weakness it has. It's kind of similar to Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. That being said, they have some interesting twists there with like other beings and stuff that I really, really liked, you know. And yeah, this went through a lot of turbulence in production, a lot of reshoots because it was similar to another movie. And also, we had Fox get bought out by Disney, so there's multiple factors. And some people were going against this film from the beginning, saying it was a mess. It kind of is, but it's not the worst movie ever, and it doesn't deserve that 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a solid film. I give Dark Phoenix a 3 out of 5. It's an enjoyable film for what it is, you know? It's good. It's not great, but it's not horrible. It definitely has its flaws. It definitely has a lot of slower moments. I love the character moments. The first hour and a half of this was really good. Some surprising moments. Some moments that feel very much like The Last Stand, but they don't kill off certain characters that they killed off in Last Stand, and that makes it better in some regards. That being said, I'm hoping that one day we could have an MCU adaptation of Dark Phoenix done properly. But who am I kidding? They did Planet Hulk and the Extremist stuff kind of horribly, so what am I expecting? The cartoon, I think, is the best incarnation, but if you look past that, don't expect to go see a movie better than the previous X-Men movies as far as Days of Future Past, Logan, and X2. Don't go in expecting it to be the comic. and just go in to have a good time, I think you'll enjoy this. The X-Men series has had its highs and lows, and even though it's a bit of an underwhelming ending, who knows, they probably didn't plan for this to be the ending, it was just another entry. I just think it's cool. And we also have Genosha. Magneto's Island's actually featured in this from the comics and cartoons, so I think that's kind of cool. Seeing a world exist with the X-Men, them being like superheroes and really seen well in the public eye. And basically what is at stake with Phoenix being unleashed with her dark powers. I also love that the team has to go against one of their own, and allegiances shift. And I love that the X-Men films are always been kind of like morally ambiguous. You know, nobody's clearly good, nobody's clearly bad. It's kind of a mixed bag. They're all mutants, and I love the allegory for civil rights and everything. With its highs and lows, you cannot deny the legacy the X-Men series has had on film and what it's done for the superhero comic book genre. And for that, I think the series should be appreciated. I'm going to sorely miss these Fox X-Men films. Say what you will about them if you're a fan or not, but I'm going to miss these films. It's nice having a film with an actual plot that doesn't have jokes every 5 minutes in it. So those are my thoughts on Dark Phoenix. It's not the best, but it's clearly not the worst. You have to go make up your own mind. You can feel free to follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic and check out my reactions there. You're either going to love it or hate it or be in the middle. So it's going to be a very polarizing film, but I personally loved it. Feel free to let me know your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you think it was okay? Did you just despise this film? You're ready for the reboot? Just let me know down in the comments below. And check out these other X-Men videos on my channel. Stay tuned for my X-Men ranking.